Welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Stay informed with quick, easy-to-listen summaries of our latest articles, perfect for when you're on the go. No reading required. Subscribe for free at mercola.com for the latest health insights.
Are you living with relentless bloating, afternoon fatigue, or frustrating skin flare-ups, and wondering whether a simple change at mealtime could finally bring relief? Today we reveal how a humble forkful of fermented cabbage may fortify your gut lining and change everything.
Sauerkraut isn't just a sour side dish. When cabbage ferments, it produces a suite of bioactive compounds that help seal your intestinal barrier, defend against inflammation, and support stronger digestion, immunity, and even mood.
Hello, and welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. I'm Ethan Foster, guiding today's discussion on what makes sauerkraut a gut-healing powerhouse, and how you can harness its benefits in your own kitchen.
And I'm Alara Sky. Together, we'll explore the latest findings comparing fermented and raw cabbage, outline the ideal fermentation timeline, and walk you through practical steps so you can start protecting your gut today.
Let's dive into the science. Researchers exposed human intestinal cells to inflammatory stress and tracked electrical resistance, the measure of how tightly those cells stay connected. Cells treated with fermented cabbage kept high resistance, meaning the barrier stayed sealed.
Meanwhile, cells exposed to raw cabbage quickly lost resistance and became leaky, a laboratory mirror of what many call leaky gut. This gap in protection shows that fermentation, not the vegetable alone, creates the healing effect.
Why does fermentation matter so much? During the 10 to 14-day process, microorganisms convert cabbage sugars into a spectrum of metabolites, including indole-3 lactate and gamma-aminobutyric acid, ILA and GABA, both recognized for calming inflammation and supporting barrier repair.
Importantly, the study showed that isolating one compound offered only partial protection. When all metabolites were present together, as they naturally are in sauerkraut, the defense against inflammatory damage improved dramatically.
Time proved crucial as well. Longer fermentation produced higher concentrations of those protective molecules. A full 10 to 14 days allows the metabolite profile to mature, giving you a more potent gut shield.
Store-bought sauerkraut often undermines that process. Many commercial brands ferment briefly and then pasteurize before shipping, a step that kills live cultures and destroys the delicate metabolites your gut needs.
That's why the article recommends making your own. With a sterilized glass jar, sea salt, and organic cabbage, you can control the ferment length and preserve every beneficial compound.
Here's the basic method. Shred 1.5 pounds of red cabbage with a green apple, mix in 1.5 teaspoons of sea salt, add spices like allspice and cloves, dissolve a vegetable starter culture in water, then pack the mixture firmly into a jar.
Press the cabbage so it stays submerged beneath its own brine. Leave about 2 centimeters of headspace. Cover with a folded cabbage leaf and a glass weight. Seal the airlock lid and store the jar in a dark spot, kept between 60 and 73 degrees Fahrenheit.
Over 10 to 14 days, the cabbage turns tangy and teems with metabolites that help your intestinal lining resist inflammatory insults. Chill it before opening, and once you break the seal, keep the kraut submerged so it stays fresh for up to 2 months.
Now, how much do you actually need to eat? The article highlights that even 1 to 2 forkfuls with a meal deliver meaningful support. You don't need bowls of sauerkraut, just a small, consistent dose.
If fermented foods are new to you, start small and let your microbiome adjust. Gradual introduction prevents discomfort while still supplying protective compounds to your gut lining.
Diversity strengthens results. Rotating fermented vegetables such as carrots, beets, and cucumbers exposes your gut to a broader range of beneficial bacteria and metabolites, each offering unique support for barrier integrity.
You can also pair sauerkraut with fermented dairy like kefir or with natto, a traditional fermented soybean dish, both mentioned for expanding bacterial diversity and amplifying gut resilience.
Prebiotics are the food for those microbes. Green bananas and Jerusalem artichokes provide fermentable fibers that nourish beneficial bacteria introduced by sauerkraut, helping them colonize and thrive.
Just as important is your overall diet. Processed foods rich in inflammatory vegetable oils counteract fermentation benefits. Focusing on whole foods alongside sauerkraut gives your gut lining the environment it needs to heal.
Some of you may worry about salt content. Researchers controlled for salt and raw cabbage with the same sodium still failed to protect gut cells. The benefit comes from fermentation, not from salt alone.
And remember, the study focused on cabbage, but the principle applies across fermented produce, the transformation of raw vegetables into metabolite-rich foods that directly interact with your intestinal lining.
Listeners often ask why homemade sauerkraut beats the supermarket jar. The answer is pasteurization. Heating extends shelf life, but destroys live cultures and the very metabolites, ILA, GABA, and others, that research shows are critical for sealing your intestinal lining.
Another common question is portion size. The article specifies that even one forkful can help, but 1 to 2 forkfuls with a meal is a comfortable range for most people. Starting small lets your microbiome adapt and avoids temporary bloating.
People also wonder how fermented cabbage physically reinforces the gut wall. The metabolites collectively tighten the junctions between intestinal cells, reducing permeability even under inflammatory stress, which is why the electrical resistance measurement stayed high in the laboratory model.
Finally, best practice conditions matter. Use a glass vessel, keep oxygen out with an airlock lid, and block light with a tea towel. Light exposure can encourage unwanted microbes, while a steady, cool temperature favors the beneficial strains you want.
Summarizing key actions. Ferment your own cabbage for at least 10 days. Eat a couple of forkfuls daily. Rotate fermented vegetables. Include prebiotic foods and minimize processed oils. Each step supports a resilient gut barrier.
When your barrier is strong, you're less likely to face bloating, fatigue, food sensitivities, or skin flare-ups, the common signs of an overstressed intestinal lining highlighted at the start of today's episode.
Here's your practical challenge. Before this week ends, gather cabbage, salt, and a clean glass jar, and start a batch of sauerkraut. Mark the jar so you give it a full 10 to 14 day ferment. Then add 2 forkfuls to 1 meal every day for the following month.
Track any changes in digestion, energy, or skin health during that month. Your experience will give you firsthand evidence of how strengthening your gut barrier can ripple across your well-being.
Thank you for watching Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.